We're back in session, and I would ask Councillor Groves to take us through the Public Works items, please.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Items related to Public Works, we've done 6.1, 6.2, passenger assistant dialysis and Caledon accessible transportation agreements. Any questions? No. Councillor Innes, Councillor Mahoney, move in second. Okay, all those in favor? Carried. 6.3, road operation and maintenance level of service, all wards. Mayor Thompson, Councillor Shaughnessy, move in second. All those in favor? Carried. 6.4, City of Brampton, Ward 7 and 9, and Town of Caledon, Ward 2. Councillor Downey, Mayor Jeffries, move in second. All those in favor? That's carried. 6.5, curbside battery collection, moved by Mayor Crombie, second by Councillor Miles. Mayor Thompson.
I thought we were going to be looking at these light bulbs, these energy efficient light bulbs that we're having a hard time disposing of them. Where are we on that one?
If I could, Madam Chair, to the mayor, this report came out of direction from council to look at specifically the battery piece.
Right.
The compact fluorescent light bulbs, the curly ones.
Yes.
They're actually rated as hazardous waste. They don't go in. We're not picking them up at the curb, unless you want to have a separate
But the big
piece.
thing is we're having challenges at the CRCs and everything, and I thought, like the batteries, we're trying to find a solution. So I'm just saying, where are we on that?
Got anything, is Norm here? No?
We got to deal with it.
Well, we collect them at the CRC right now, and there are a lot of the hardware stores that pick them up as well, like Home Depot and things like that. This is one of the issues, if I could, to the rest of the council, that we're struggling with the stewards and the government and how they fund the hazardous waste program. They're big on letting the producers find the way of fixing these things. And the producers are, well, they haven't come to an agreement with the stewards. At the end of the day, we're open to basically managing it as hazardous waste at the 6 CRCs, but beyond that, that's our only piece. Now, if we need to do more education, whatever the case may be, we can bring something back on that specifically about these pieces, but these are no different than the standard fluorescent tubes. They all have mercury in them. They're all hazardous waste.
I understand that, but I mean, even at the one in Bolton, we've had some challenges, and I think my councillors here can agree that we've got to come up with a better solution than what we've got. And that's what we're asking, and the Home Depot in Bolton does not take them.
No, and actually, what's because of the disagreements between the stewards and the producers, they've made things expensive for all these like frontline, retailers, and they don't want to be bothered with it as well. And some have maintained it. It's basically the local general manager's call, but most of them are getting out of it because the system isn't working right. So we continue to work with the system, trying to find solutions. But as you can well imagine, this isn't a province-wide issue.
Understood, but I was just wondering.
Okay.
I think under the direction when we brought this up before is, I know we were looking at the batteries, but we're also going to see what better things we can do for the light bulbs.
Well,
that's why I'm
take that
asking
back.
that, because that was a note that I kept
Okay.
back. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Raz.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a couple of quick questions, one along the line of Mayor Thompson, which is, was there an opportunity to work with any retailers for a battery collection system? And number two, how are we going to be distributing the bags for the battery collection? Just like a mail or?
I can bring back more details on that. We were just kind of working through those issues. The specific on the batteries, it gets back to the program, the hazardous waste program. The funding of it is driven by the province and the Waste Diversion Ontario. And actually, late last year, the government got out of direct funding of municipalities for cost. In this budget, there's a $500,000 loss for a number of hazardous waste items that we continue to take at our CRCs, but we're not getting funded for. Batteries were one of them.
Okay.
So we'll bring something back on the whole HHW, household hazardous waste piece. And as far as how we were going to allocate the bags, I think we were just basically, as part of the, the annual, cycle, we would just drop them off. Because it's really only twice a year, spring and fall, I guess, fall back and spring forward. But I can get back better details on the specifics. We
curious.
wanted to get your sense, did you buy into it? Because it's an expensive collection. It doesn't sound like a lot of money, but it's like $1,300 a ton. That would be our most expensive collection cycle. And I got Norm here, so maybe he can answer more detailed questions about everything you just asked for. Norm, welcome. They want to know how we're going to hand out the bags for the batteries.
Ooh.
The most intelligent answer this year.
And I don't know, we can get back to you on that.
Okay.
See,
I thought it was a simple question. Thank you. That's fine, get back to me.
I think they
I
go
think
out-
we're on the right track, but it'd be nice if we worked out the details, because there's probably some additional costs that we haven't accounted for yet.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Moving on, item 6.6, City of Mississauga Ward 7 Sanitary Sewer Servicing Local Improvement Project. Mayor Crombie and Councillor Mahoney, and all those in favor, carried. 6.7, support of Credit Valley, Toronto and Region and Central Lake Ontario source water protection policies. Moved by Councillor Tovey and second by Councillor Thompson. And Councillor Thompson, you're on the board.
Yes, could I ask for a clarification? And sitting on the board of the Rural Municipalities of Ontario, municipalities are now been farming around trying to find liability to protect councillors, because under the Municipal Act, we're exempt. And we're told by AMO that every councillor that makes a decision at the conservation or even here at this board, we're all liable on source water protection. And I know some of the smaller municipalities are looking to see what they can do to protect. Have we looked into that yet on how to protect us personally? Because my understanding, the way the legislation is read, is that we're all personally liable.
Want to jump in, Patrick?
Mr. Chair, it's true that there is an express statutory duty of care on the councillors in connection with safe drinking water, and as there are on a number of areas in different statutory enactments, it's not quite correct to say that you're liable. It creates a standard that needs to be met, and against which risk you require some protection. You have protection here at the region, at least, with respect to insurance and indemnification.
My understanding from Fred Dean is we're not. So could we get clarification just to give all of us peace of mind that we're okay?
Well, I think what I would need to do is to understand better why he takes that view and get back to you with more specific advice.
So if it's okay, Mr. Chairman, if Patrick could please have a talk with Mr. Dean, just to put all our minds at ease, that would be really helpful.
I'd be
Okay.
happy to do that.
I think the clerk would like to comment on that,
We
Councillor
have
Thompson.
arranged for May 21st, a full day, or a half day rather, workshop on the Safe Drinking Water Act and its implications for council. It'll be held here in the chambers. We're having the Walkerton folks here, as well as Dan and his team are going to be doing some, PLIs the experience for you, so that we'll have the external sources here as well as our internal sources to talk just this, and we'll bring that question back with it.
Thank you very much. That's what I'm looking for. Thank you so much.
Okay. Councillor Tovey?
Yes, thank you very much. No, I just wanted to tell everybody if you don't really need to worry about drinking water in Peel. We have
Yep.
probably the best drinking water in Canada, and it's fabulous. Actually, I was down in the Hanlon Pipe this week. It was really a lot of fun. And I would suggest if anyone would like to, it was great. They threatened to leave me there. Yeah.
Take an engineer
It's quite a project. If anybody has the opportunity to see it, they really should do that. And the water plant, they're continuing the upgrades at the water plant down in my ward. And I think it would be really great if anyone on council wanted to take a tour of the water plant. I'd be happy to host them down there over the course of the summer. Thank you.
I agree, Councillor Tovey, and I fill up my bottle with tap water, and it's really good. From, Okay, 6.8, Water Treatment and Quality, 2014 Annual Summary Report. It is here for information. Councillor Thompson and Councillor Sprovieri, and you are on the board.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Just a question to staff. I was reading just a couple of days ago that Montreal will be retrofitting all their water treatment plants and going into the new technology of ozone treatment, I believe. Now, I've also been reading that even with the best of technologies available, there's still a lot of chemicals and pharmaceutical products that get through the filtration systems in the water supply. And I'm just wondering whether this system, and if first of all, if Peel Region's using it, and if what Montreal's going to be doing is actually going to be pretty well making the water totally clean and safe.
If I could, through you, Madam Chair, just to be clear, Councillor, we do use ozone in the water treatment side. We don't use ozone on the wastewater side because we have primary and secondary and tertiary treatment levels. Montreal only has primary treatment, and they're basically putting, in effect, fecal matter directly into St. Lawrence and letting the tides and the river flow deal with it through dilution. So they're bringing this piece in through a federal grant just to kind of reduce their impact on the St. Lawrence. I know Councillor Tovey may know a lot more because it's come out of it's really the program is focused on the St. Lawrence River, and I know Mark works with the councillor on that initiative, but it's a totally different thing. Our level of treatment is much better than what Montreal will get after doing this investment that they're doing.
So I guess the question then is, can we do better? Is there more advanced technologies that have been developed recently that actually can do a better job, or do we have the best available here in Peel?
Back about 10 years ago, Council gave us direction to increase our treatment levels. So today, we use a combination of ozone, bacteriological activated carbon, membrane filtration, ultraviolet disinfection, including chlorine. So we've got the most advanced plants in Canada right now. The only level you could go to higher is reverse osmosis, which is basically trying to take salt water out of the oceans. And it's not required here, but we've got the most advanced treatment in Canada now.
And what about in Europe? I understand they're very advanced there too.
Again, in Europe, we're probably one of the leaders even in Europe when it comes to technology. The only other technology above what we're doing is reverse osmosis, and that's typically when you're going to get into desalinization of ocean water.
Right. So these reports I've been reading that there are pharmaceutical products getting through, especially my niece, as I mentioned before. She's up in Barrie, and she's telling me that she teaches, forget the topic now.
Biology?
Biology, yeah. And thanks. And she tells me that they're really finding a huge problem in the fish up there that recently because of the chemicals and pharmaceuticals going into the water system. And so she expressed some concern that some of the stuff is getting through, and we're drinking it also. And of course, what's happening in Lake Simcoe is probably happening in Lake Ontario too.
So, yeah, through the chair, so when we're talking about pharmaceuticals and things that they're finding in water supplies now, you've got to put it in context that the measurements now, they can go down so low. So Tylenol has been one that they have found in many water supplies. And when you look at the equivalence of somebody drinking water for a whole year, it would be an equivalent of one Tylenol tablet annually. So I think you've got to put some things in context. The nice thing about some of the treatment we've put in place, certainly ozone helps oxidize a lot of those contaminants out of the water that are coming into the plant. Certainly our taste and odor compounds, which we've been seeing on Lake Ontario in August, we can actually oxidize all those compounds out, and we've been able to measure the success of the treatment that we put in place.
So, and we're keeping an eye on any new advancements in the industry?
We keep track of that all the time.
Yeah, if I could, Madam Chair, Councillor Sporvieri, you may recall, I think it was late last year, we brought a little video clip about a public education awareness program that we're working with Aqua, and it's basically provincial-wide about, and it's tied to waste management as well. Don't flush things like pharmaceuticals in your toilet, return it to the pharmacy. So there is an education piece. There's only, I won't tell you what the only things that should go in the toilet. You can probably figure it out. There's 3 of them, and you can figure it out yourself. But we continue to include this in our education material as well, and some of the stuff we do with the schools and whatever. So it's a broad range of tactics, treatment as well as education.
I see. Okay. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And Councillor Tovey?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a comment to Councillor Spovieri. We, last year, we actually won an award from Eco-Justice for our wastewater plant as being the cleanest, most efficient wastewater plant in all of Lake Ontario, both sides of the border. The Region of Peel has been terrific working with us on this, and we actually 3 years ago, we actually opened up all the beaches in Mississauga for swimming, first time in about 25 years. Last summer, we didn't close them once, not even after rain. So I think the region's done an absolutely outstanding job of providing us with an amazing service. And when Mark Schiller came to the Great Lakes St. Lawrence Mayor's Conference with me last year, basically he was getting swarmed by all these people from all over the Great Lakes, a lot of whom just kind of wave at their sewage as it's going out into Lake Superior. So I think not only are we an example and leaders in North America, really, but I think the contribution that we're making to other municipalities around the Great Lakes Basin is critical and extremely important.
Thank you. And if I may add just to Commissioner Lebrecht's comments with regards to disposing the pharmaceutical stuff. The pharmacies are great in making sure that they are very responsible in disposing them. Maybe as councillors in our ward, we can sort of put something out to educate our constituents to say, you know, this is how you do it, and go to your pharmacy and they will be happy to dispose of those properly and safely. Thank you. Moving on to item 6.9, it's a City of Mississauga Ward 3. It's a professional engineering service for the Silverthorne Reservoir and Pumping Station. I need a mover and a seconder. Oh, Councillor Fonseca.
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. Yes, I'll move it. I just had a couple questions. So, first question is, so all of the firms that put in proposals, they all met the multidisciplinary expertise criteria? Yes? Okay. And just a question about the process. So did they need to go through the technical checklist criteria first before then moving to the financial checklist?
Yes,
Okay,
that's
so
the process we follow.
They move through that, then they go to the financial. Okay. And just in terms of where this site is located, it's on Bloor and also beside a high school, it's a very tight site and there's a lot of traffic. So at the appropriate time, if I could request having a meeting with you on the next steps for whatever's done on the site, that would be great. Okay, thank you.
Okay, that's moved by Councillor Fonseca, second by Councillor Tovey. All those in favor? Carried. We have 4 items of communication. Councillor Paleshi, Councillor Moore, will you move in second? Okay, all those in favor? It's carried. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
Actually, Madam Chair, the first was a referral to Public Works as opposed to receipt.
Oh, okay. 7.1? Is that 7.1 or? Yes, okay. All right, so we have 3. Okay, thank you.
And then, Counselor Groh, I think this would be the appropriate time, too, to bring the additional item that Counselor Sato had raised with respect to the carts, so just,
Okay. Counselor Sato.
Sorry. Thank you. Yes, this was the item that I asked to be added onto the agenda, and hopefully Norm or Dan can respond to this. I sent an email out to members of council, and I am really concerned that after talking to my residents, getting calls, and talking to people, especially at the open house, that many of them are telling me that they just, in my ward at least, they have small lots, they just don't have room for the larger garbage bins. And my concern is that if a resident doesn't have the space and they don't have an option of going to a larger bin, you know, they may have the medium recycling bin, they have the large compost bin, and then they're kind of stuck with space. They have to get the smaller one, and they will not be getting the same level of service because they would have to pay for, according to, well, I guess we haven't actually taken a vote on that, but under the current process, they would have to pay for the additional bags that they may put out every now and then, but they don't for the additional recycling. This does create a much lower level of service for people who do not have the space. And someone that has a larger lot, they can get whatever size carts they want, and they're going to be able to put out a lot more without paying extra than a person who lives in a small lot, single or semi, particularly in the semis, of which I have a lot. I'm not talking about the townhouses, because they're going to get most of them bags, and they're going to be allowed 4 bags. So they're also even getting, I told them not to push for the carts. I said, stay with the bags, you're going to be much better off. So I do have a concern that of fairness, and that's one issue. The other issue that I have a concern with, that I think we need to make a decision soon, because when residents are asking me about changing the carts, we do not have an answer as to how they're going to be exchanged, or whether they're going to have to pay for them, or what they're going to have to pay for them. And there's that uncertainty out there. We talked at the previous meeting and previous meetings before that about giving a grace period. The default for a lot of my residents is going to be that absolutely enormous large garbage cart that nobody could ever, I can't understand how anybody could ever fill that. You could put 2 people, and we tried, you could put 2 people in that bin.
It's a smart car without an engine.
You know what it is. It is. We were joking about that. If you put an engine on it, you could drive it down your driveway in Caledon, you know, in it. So my concern is, and, you know, we're going by house size, not household size on the defaults. So my concern is that a resident who is in a single-family home, and, you know, in our situation, there's 2 of us, our default is all large carts, which is absolutely ridiculous. So residents that are in similar size houses that don't have large households are going to be, if they don't, because we only about 50, just over 50% have selected. So a large proportion of the population are going to be getting these absolutely enormous carts delivered to their homes. And when they see them, as most people that came to the open house, when they saw that cart, it was, oh my God, I didn't realize how big it was. I definitely would never have room for that. They're going to need to exchange their carts. And we need to make it easy for them, and we need to make it free. So I want to move today that we give a 2-month grace period, that residents can exchange their carts easily. And please don't ask them to take them to the recycling center, because nobody would have a car big enough to put those carts in. So we have to come up with a simple way. If we want people to buy into this program, to participate, and to embrace it and support it, we know that when it comes to this, you have to make it as easy as possible for them. So I would like to move a motion today, Mr. Chairman, so that we can tell people and get it settled once and for all, that, I'm sorry, Madam Chair, that we will provide a 2-month, I think 2 months is fair. It's over the winter time, we're going to have issues with that anyway. And that'll give a proper amount of time for staff to be able to do the exchanges. And that staff come forward with a procedure that is no cost to the resident, and after that period of time, after the 2 months, then we can implement the fee. I would also like direction to be given to staff to take a look at how we can further assist those residents who do not have space with, and are forced to take the smaller cart, how we can assist them with the extra without charging them an arm and a leg, having to go get tags and everything else, when their next door neighbor who, or down the street around the corner that has space is able to put out 4 bags, they're only allowed to put out 2. So, those are the 2 issues that I'm most concerned about, that I've spoken with a lot of residents about. And I don't know if Councillor Raz is going to speak on it. I don't think she can talk, but I think one of the comments that I heard her making was that, was there any possibility of extending the March 31st deadline to see if we can get, more people to actually go in and select their carts, so that we don't end up going back to the default.
Okay. And Councillor Sato, I would be happy to second your motion, because I have residents in my community who has the same concerns, because we do have smaller lots, and so they've expressed the same concerns. Councillor Gibson.
Yeah, I've also had some of those similar type of concerns, and first of all, I must say that the staff that have done I've been to a couple of these meetings, they've done a terrific job answering a lot of the questions, and I was quite surprised at how positive most of the people from the public were when they were coming, because I expected to go to these ones and have a lot of negatives, and the people that were coming weren't all that negative. Quite frankly, some of them that I had talked to when I was at one of them were very positive about, so that's what it is, and that's great, so I get to select now. I wish that more people, and I don't know how you get them to come out, but I wish that more people would take the opportunity to go and look. And I've actually suggested to a few, and we've had some negative comments, and I said, have you been to any of these meetings? And I've actually emailed to them where they are so they can go to them and find out what it's all about. And then I never hear back from them, because the staff are doing such a good job, and once they see what they're getting, then they seem to be okay with it. The only concern that I have, and I wasn't there the last term of council when the decisions were made about how to go forward with this, is that it seems to me that the people that are in the smaller homes, like the townhomes and things like that, are really, maybe you can say they're not paying as much taxes as somebody in a 4,000 square foot home on a single yard, but they're going to have to pay for their garbage bags. It doesn't seem fair to me that, and it's only because they can't take the bins because they haven't got the room for them. Mm-hmm. Some of them, like the complex I live in a condominium complex. We're now trying to decide, and we can decide as a complex if we want to force everybody in that complex to take them as a condominium, and that would be fine. Some of the people are saying to us, yeah, we want them, and then others are saying, well, no, we don't have the room for them, but why should we have to pay for the bags? Why isn't the region providing those bags to us? And if the people that are, you might say, some people have said to me, they're richer, they can afford to live in a bigger home, they're going to get free bins. And the poor, who might live in a townhome, and I would say people in a townhome are poor. I live in a townhome. Well, I am poor. They don't pay me enough. But anyway, they seem to be getting, in my view and a lot of other people's views, punished because they're going to have to now pay for those bags because they just don't have the room to put a bin. So I don't know if we can look at that. I don't know what the decision-making was through that process. I'm sure that the staff and the councillors all looked at that the last term of council when they were thinking about all this, but those are the kind of comments that I've been hearing. So I agree with some of the things that Councillor Sato is saying, and I don't know what the answer is. I really don't. But the public meetings seem to have gone very well. I just don't know what else we can do to get people to come out. If we're only getting 50% to come out, can't beat them over the head, I guess. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Moore?
Thank you. I'd like some comments from staff, please, on the implications of what Councillor Sato is proposing, because, and I think I've raised this before, we have to order the carts. And you have to start somewhere in terms of ordering them. And if we give people an opportunity, so they, I mean, this is a mass production. This is, you know, over a million carts that are going to be rolling out across. So it's one thing to talk about fairness and giving them an opportunity to exchange them, but there's got to be a financial implication to that. And so I think we need to understand what that is. So if, I don't know whether, Norm, you've got that, you know, whether that's something that you can give us even a ballpark figure on that. But, you know, and it's funny because Councillor Gibson and I had a call this week from somebody who's not getting the carts because they live in a quad. And the argument, you know, or the rationale from staff is that they don't have the room at the end of the driveway to store them. And she says, I don't care, I'm going to find a spot for them. Can you please give them to me? So there are those who say, I don't have enough, you know, where staff are making a determination that they don't have enough room for them because of the configuration of the homes and the width of the driveways, and yet some of those folks want the carts. So I think there's arguments on both sides. I guess from my perspective, if you choose a smaller size cart, and you still want to be able to put out 2 bags of garbage with that, and that we should be able to accommodate it, where are you going to store those 2 bags of garbage? If you've got room for a cart, albeit smaller than the large size you might have got, and you're still storing 2 bags of garbage beside that, you're not better off having the larger cart and putting them all inside the cart. You're going to have to find a spot to put your garbage anyways. Better that it's all inside one container if you're just going to have a smaller cart and supplement it with bags on the side. The fairness argument is coming out. I guess I've had a couple residents who've called me and they're saying, but I'm having to buy bags and other people don't have to, and I'm paying my taxes. Say, you know what, we all pay education taxes and we don't all have kids in school. It's just part of, the reality. Fair, there is not a one-size-fits-all across the region. And I don't know how we compare in terms of early sign-up to the City of Toronto, like where were they in terms of where we are today for sign-up. I've seen, I've gone out to the open houses as well, and a lot of people come in loaded for bear, and then they leave wondering why they can't take their cart with them. Because really, seeing it and talking to the staff that are there, I think we need to, the council's made a decision, and we've made an enormous financial investment in this, and I don't want to see us, add on to that cost because we're using the fairness argument on it. Residents have some responsibility here as well. No, I don't think there's anybody across the region who could argue that they didn't get something in their mailbox, haven't seen a roadside mobile sign, haven't had a message on a bus or in a recreation. We've got them in our recreation centers. I'm going to assume Mississauga does as well. We have made this as easy as possible for residents to sign up. And I know we all have busy lives, but you can, too bad we couldn't develop an app for your mobile device so that, well, they couldn't do it while they're driving, but they could drive by the sign and say, well, I'll do that when I get to get to work. But anyways, that's kind of a bit of a rant to get at the cost. Did I buy you enough time?
And there were quite a few questions in there.
Sorry.
Too, which I tried to jot down, and I have a bit of information. I'm going to go through it, and if I miss some of your questions, please let me know. First thing is, I think our current rate, as of this morning, 66% of households have chosen a cart size. And we're running at a rate of about 1% a day additions to that. So by the end of this month, we should be somewhere around 70% of households or just north of that having chosen. Toronto, as I understand it, ended up with 68% of their residents choosing a cart size, and the remaining 60 or 32% got default size. So we're actually ahead of them, and they had a fee attached to theirs, so presumably people should have been more interesting. So, kudos to staff and the communications team for getting this out there, for getting people engaged as best they could in this. So I think that part's going very well. The sizing is pretty consistent across Peel. We've been looking at stats. We can drill down ward by ward, and there's not a lot of change between the three municipalities. There's not a lot of change between the different wards. What we said, for detached homes, the default cart sizes were large and large. Large garbage, large recycling, and about between 15 and 20% reduced to a medium, and about 3 or 4% reduced to small. And the rest of them, the ones that have chosen, stayed with the large. For semi-detached, we had a default size of medium and medium. And almost 30% increased to large, and again, 3 or 4% went to small. So, you know, the data is showing not a lot of people are going to small carts. They're actually going larger. And that's kind of consistent with what we saw in the pilot. People figured out where to store the carts, how to manage them, and I think as Councillor Moore pointed out, they're storing the garbage somewhere right now. It's not like we're asking for new storage spaces. We're saying your garbage cans right now and your blue boxes right now will be replaced with these. So most people are doing that. For townhouses, the default garbage size was small. Almost 30% increase that to a medium, almost 20% increase to large, and only about 50% kept the small. The default recycling was medium, and about 20% went up a size, and about 5% went down. So again, the data is showing people are actually getting larger carts, and hopefully they'll figure out where to store it based on where they're storing their existing stuff. On the cost thing, the one thing that we heard, and we talked to Toronto quite a bit about this because they've implemented carts a while back, and the one thing we heard with them is minimize the amount of extra bags that you have to get out of the truck to collect because it kills productivity. You know, we saw the collection cost compared to status quo is going down about $9 million with the new automated collection, and that's partly because the truck drives by with one driver as opposed to two workers, and the arm just picks it up and puts it down. They go to the next driveway. If the driver has to get out and put a bag into the cart and repeat it, it just kills productivity. The number of trucks go up because a truck can collect less households per day. The cost goes up, the greenhouse gases. So all the things that we described as benefits, we start to lose. Now, I don't have a firm number on how much more it would cost to do that, but there'd definitely be a cost. Toronto, when they initially launched their program, they gave out, I think, 5 free bag tags for people to put out extra bags, and the idea was they would continue to do that for a long time. By the second year, they went to 4, and by the third year, they went to 0 because the cost of collecting the bags was so high, they just eliminated it. And they don't collect bags right now. They just collect the carts. Anyway, the other thing, and I know some of the councillors have heard from residents, I guess, who are concerned about storage, concerned about cart size, concerned about the fairness and stuff. That's not something, and we get a lot of calls. We've been, we have a team, Leanne and Paula and their team have been on this every day. It's all they do, responding to residents, going to open houses. They're not hearing those questions a lot. So I just caution about putting a big fix in region-wide forever that's going to cost us money. It's going to reduce efficiency if we don't know that it's that big of a problem. It might be if council wants to do something, I think staff would be quite happy to go out after the fact and work with residents who are having difficulty storing their bins or, who can only fit a small into their space and try to work with them to find a better way of doing it. And if we have to, the few of them that we have to, we can work out a program where they get bags too. So that sort of thing. So that'd just be my caution is I'm not sure, I know some of you have heard from residents about this, but based on all the people we talk to, we're not hearing it a lot. So it might be, a problem that doesn't need a really big solution. I'm not sure if I missed any questions.
Grace period.
The grace period, and we talked about this before. When we did the pilot, some people wanted to change carts right away, and we asked them, well, first of all, the size of the cart, the default size of the cart, it's based on our experience in the pilots and experience of other municipalities who've done this. And generally, that the size of cart fits the household. There are going to be cases where you have a big house with only 1 or 2 people, and of course, they're going to downsize the cart. Or a smaller house with, multi-generations, and they're going to upsize. And we're seeing that in the responses we're getting from the residents. During the pilot, we asked people to try their carts for 90 days before changing. And because quite a few people had asked us to change carts, most of them, after 90 days, said, no, you know what, we're good with the one we've got. So we're recommending, in fact, that the program, the way it's designed right now, for the first 90 days, residents would keep the carts that they get delivered and work with those sort of thing. And if somebody called in and they absolutely missed all the communications and didn't get to choose, and they've got a family of 7 and a small cart, we'd work with them and help them out. But, a lot of people, the experience in the pilot was that during that 90-day period, they figured out how to use it and were quite happy with the size they had rather than changing.
Okay, thank you. Councillor?
If I can, I think in fairness, people do not yet realize what biweekly garbage is going to mean to them. Right now, we have weekly pickup. So your frame of reference is how much you put out every week. It's not what you're going to put out every 2 weeks. And I think that, the 90, did you say 90 days? They were given, and they realized that, that was working for them. So I think, anyways, there's arguments on both sides. It's too big, it's too small, too weak. And there's some people, it doesn't matter what size cart you give them, they do not want the biweekly garbage, period. They don't want it. So they'll put up every argument before you as to why you should, they think that somehow if they just whine long enough and hard enough that we're going to change our minds. But this is a massive investment on the part of the region.
Yes. Norm?
So that's it. Thank you.
Sorry, and I realized I did miss one of the questions that Councillor Moore had asked, if I can, and it had to do with our contractor and the grace period. We have a single contract to produce about 1 million carts, and they started producing them last year, and they're producing 24/7 to kind of meet our deadline. There is a point in time where we have to tell them how many larges, how many mediums, and how many smalls, so they can finish off their production and still meet our delivery dates and not delay the implementation. That's how we came up with the March 31st deadline for choosing sizes. If that gets pushed back a week, probably not going to kill us. If it goes a month, we can start seeing problems and maybe miss January 1st with some of the households. One option that staff is considering, and just based on the number of responses today, I said we're at 66% of households. We're adding about 1% a day. We should be north of 70 by the end of the month, which is better than what Toronto did. I think that's a good number. I'm not inclined to recommend an extension. I don't know that there's a lot of added benefit to that. But we are looking at a possibility of keeping the window open, but not necessarily advertising it. So if somebody, wakes up on the 3rd of April and goes, oh, geez, I forgot to do this, and they log in, they'll still have the ability for a week or so just to do that, and that's something that we could bring back. So.
Okay. Councillor Moore, is that? Okay, thank you. Councillor Fonseca?
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. A lot of my questions have been answered. My one question was, what is that March 31st a set, defined date? My concern is more with those that may have been in the timeline from January to, because it's in the winter, January to March 31st. There are people that are away, and they're not going to wake up on the 3rd and say, oh, I didn't sign up, because they maybe haven't seen it, or they'll read the mail later, or they'll hear from their neighbor later, and it'll be in the fall when they get the cart. So if that's the way we're going, like, I was going to ask for an extension on the March 31st, or what is that absolute deadline, recognizing thoroughly that there is a cost in the production and getting those out in a timeline. But what is the actual fee? I've had that question brought to me. What is the fee for a cart if you exchange your default cart? Nobody's been able to give me that number. Is that number available? Like, residents are asking me that, and have we set a fee?
We set it up so that staff would bring a report to council at the end of the selection period, so after the end of March.
So right now, we don't know
with a firm recommendation for a fee.
We don't know what that fee is.
We did say, I think in the last report, we said it would be $25. Like, we're landing on $25 right now to cover our, because we have to pay the contractor to exchange the cart for us, plus we have some administration costs. Clean the cart, that sort of stuff. So we're saying that's where our head is right now, that it would be a $25 exchange fee. If nothing changes between now and next month, nobody convinces me of a different number, that's what I'm going to recommend to council to adopt. That is in the last report.
Oh, was it in there? And I
It
didn't
is.
see
It's
I'm
not.
sorry, okay. I apologize.
We didn't recommend that it be approved, but we said this is kind of the number we're looking at coming to council with after March.
Okay, so, and you're recommending that a better route to take would be if there is situations where somebody, either a large cart shows up and there are one or two people in a single-family home, and they know right away that they would never use that, you'd be able to work with those. But based on your numbers, you're saying give them the 90, suggest that they take the cart for 90 days? Or if it's the alternative, which is a family that there's 7 or 4 or 5 in a household that want a larger cart, you're saying work with it for 90 days? You're recommending doing that? Or?
If it's really blatant, like 7 people in a household and they have a small cart, we'll
You'll
help.
work with them to exchange,
We'll
rather than
work
a
with them.
fee?
We'll figure something out. One of the a couple of the challenges, it's going to be busy in January and February, just figuring out, people will be setting stuff out on the wrong day. They'll be mixing up, that sort of thing. We have new contractors who historically, history shows that the first couple of weeks, they have a hard time getting everybody collected on the proper day, sort of thing. So it's going to be a lot of challenges. Staff is going to be busy. For us to take on a lot of cart exchanges in that time, I think we'd be setting up for failure. Now, just on people who might have been, let's say they went to Florida for the winter and they come back the end of April or something, we've looked at demographics, we've looked at family situation, that sort of thing. Most people who are out of town, generally they either live with other family people who are still here, so that sort of thing, or they have connections to people who are here. So we don't expect a lot of people to come back and have not had any idea about this. If they do, we're going to be working right through from now till December. Get on the phone, give us a call. If it's somebody that needs to go from large to small because there's only 2 of them in the house, 1 or 2 of those things we can do. We can make little tweaks. Right up to the last minute, but if we extend it and then people go, okay, I don't have to worry about this till the end of April, and just tack it on the fridge door for another month, we're going to run into problems with our producer making the carts.
Okay. Thank you. And just one other thing, with regards to the townhomes and the condos, just for clarification, so were the townhomes and the condos, were the sites visited and the region made the decision to say that because this site is such a tight site, carts are not recommended for this site? And then if the townhouse complex or the condo complex then said, no, we would like the carts, please do it anyway, is that what happened? Or was it the townhouse complex and the condo complex had the choice themselves to make that decision?
It was, through the chair, it was staff who did it, and when we discussed this, when we were talking about the pilot and getting approval of the biweekly, one of the things that we heard from council was we don't want to force carts onto townhouses and stuff the way they did in some other municipalities and had problems. So staff committed to going out and looking at them, which we did. We visited all the different ones, and
There were some that were kind of in the gray area and some that were clearly unacceptable, that sort of thing. And the decision was made, let's put all of them kind of on hold for now. They'll continue to get bag-based collection. If they want to choose, they can ask, and we'll go out case by case reviewing. We have to have the condo corp agree, because you can't have, 3 people want carts, 2 people, it's just the way their regulations are set up. They all have to agree on it. It's a little more complex. We said, for us to take that on, either leading up to the January launch or shortly after, that's probably going to be too much for us while we're doing all the other stuff. So we said, let's, again, I think we're saying it's a few months out.
I thought it was fall.
Oh, okay, sorry, fall of 2016. So they can ask us ahead of time, they can do all the legwork, but we're saying we probably need till fall of 2016 to start bringing people on. And you know what, if things are running smoothly by summer, we can start bringing them on. But we need that time, I think, to make sure the operations are working. Things have settled out. And
So they can, if they're in condos or townhomes, come next year, they can have the opportunity to transition to carts.
yeah, in fact, they could ask tomorrow if they want. I mean, they can ask any time. It's just, it's going to be fall of 2016.
Then how does that fit into the deadline of needing the carts by March 31st?
Those are,
Needing the numbers.
we have to order more carts for them. We're ordering enough carts for the 300,000 households that are on the
Okay,
program.
so-
We order carts for growth each year.
And
we'll
replacement.
order
Okay.
carts for them.
Okay,
So the 300,000 households, those carts will all be made and delivered by this December 31st. So then, starting January 1st of 2016, they can start producing carts for townhouses and townhouse complexes.
okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Downey.
Thank you.
Yeah, through sale.
I can understand Councillor Sato's frustration with the space and lot sizes. In my own ward, I have everything from condo-style townhouses to residents whose driveways are literally a kilometer long. I don't think that we'll ever make everyone happy, but I think that the staff has gone out of their way to make everybody comfortable. I know that they've been to 5 or 6 events in my own ward. They've answered every resident question that I've had. I drove past 4 region signs this morning on the way here, reminding me to pick my carts. I think that, as Councillor Moore said, we need to put some responsibility on the resident. We have to draw the line somewhere. Extending and extending will only add additional costs and staff hours, and we've made it as easy as it possibly could be for the residents to pick their carts and engage in the program. And that's it. That's it.
Thank you, Councillor Downey. Councillor Sato?
Thank you. Following on, and thank you, Norm, for the information and for sending it to me. Norm knew that I was raising this today, so he was prepared. I guess, I like what you said about what the City of Toronto did, that for the first year they gave 5 free tags with their carts and then started phasing that out. I personally like that idea because I think within the first year people know what they're going to need. But I still feel that, particularly for the residents who are going to get the default large carts, and I can tell you when they start getting delivered September to December, the reaction is going to be the same as what the reactions I saw at the open house that was held in my ward. And when, I had residents come in and say, well, I was told the default for my property is a large. And which one is the large? And they're standing in front of the medium cart thinking that is the large. And when I pointed out, it's this one here, it was like, oh my God. You could put every cart inside that one large cart. They're huge. I still think that we have to give those residents an opportunity at no charge for a short period of time, the opportunity to change their cart once they're delivered. Maybe we don't need to wait until the program starts. If it is as small a number as you are saying it is, then it's not going to be that huge a cost. And we're apparently going to be saving $9 million annually on this program. The cost of replacing what you seem to be implying will be a small number of carts, and it well may be, is going to be a drop in the bucket compared to that $9 million. It's not going to be a huge fee at all, or a huge amount overall. And if it helps those residents out, then I think we should be doing it. You know, giving people in a single-family home a large cart, the largest cart for their garbage, certainly does not conform at all to the policy of this region to reduce waste. I mean, you're basically saying, here, we're giving you the largest cart possible, go fill it. You know, we should have been giving them the smallest ones that we possibly could for those households and encouraging them to increase their recycling bin size. That's what our whole goal has been through waste management. So those are the ones that I am mostly concerned about, are those residents who are going to be receiving that enormous cart and will have nowhere to put it. And they're going to know as soon as it's delivered. They're not going to have to wait for 90 days to use it. And those 90 days that people are going to be testing it are the worst 90 days for weather that we could have. We discussed this before. January, February, March. So, you know, I would suggest if we can come up with some way that that giving them a period of time, doesn't have to be 2 months, you can give them 1 month from the delivery of the cart to enable them to exchange their cart once they see it, because eyes on is important. That's why the people who went to the open houses made informed decisions, but a lot of people didn't. They just went with the default, or if they made their selection online, they went in and they said, well, I guess they know how many, you know, I had some residents say, well, they must know how many people live in my house. And I said, no, it's based on the square footage of your house, not the fact that you have one person living there or 6 people living there. You know, so I mean, my motion was that we give them 2 months leeway. I'm prepared to say 30 days after receipt of the carts, not even into the program. And the program won't have started by that point in time, so staff aren't going to be out being involved in the actual contract itself. Those that are delivered in December, yeah, you're going to have some over there. And again, I don't think it's going to be that big a deal if, from what you have told us today. But at least let's help out those residents who are going to need that help. And I don't think it should be at the discretion of staff. This is a decision that this council should be making, and it should be a decision of council whether we give grace periods or not, whether we charge people or not. And that's why I think we have to make that decision. And I think we need to make it today before the end of the period for selecting. So I will amend my motion to reflect that, Mr. Chairman, or Madam Chairman, for 30 days after receipt of the carts, that they can make an exchange free of charge.
Councillor Sato, I was advised that Norm will be bringing an update on April the 9th at our next council meeting. Would you be okay with doing this as a notice today?
I'm fine with that. I guess I was hoping we would have the decision before the deadline. You know, this decision, quite honestly, should have been made months ago. We should have been able to answer this question at the open houses, and we haven't been able to do it. But, I mean, 1 more week is not going to make that much difference because the deadline is only a few days away anyway. Okay. So
that would be,
I'm fine with that.
Thank you. And then this way it gives us an opportunity to draft a proper motion
That's
and the
fine.
wording. Okay, great. Thanks very much. I think we've dealt with everything on the agenda under Public Works, and so I will turn it over to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Moore, you take us through the items related to health.
Yes, I can. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first 2 items, 8.1 and 8.2, we dealt with under delegations this morning. The only report is item 8.3. It is here for information, but I do want to make a couple comments on this report because what it really does is highlight the work that regional and municipal staff have been doing to create a healthier environment. And we all know that making a healthy choice doesn't come automatically. It takes a conscious effort and motivation. Our goal is to have people make the healthy choice automatically so that it becomes second nature. This month is Nutrition Month, and it's an opportune time for us to celebrate how the Region of Peel has emerged as a leader in this area. We've created a supportive environment that makes the healthier choice an easier choice. The region put out an RFP, request for proposal for a new food service vendor that serves healthy foods, which meet the Region of Peel's food and beverage standards. And the award was granted to a vendor by the name of Dana Hospitality, and they began operations on October the 1st at both this location and at 7120 here, Ontario. And we have become one of the first workplace cafeterias to remove less healthy food options from its offerings. And we've seen lots of positive change in the food environment at regional cafeterias. There's been an increase in the variety of fresh and flavorful foods being offered, ultimately improving the health of everyone at the Region of Peel. I want to just say that I mentioned earlier today how the Region of Peel is a leader in so many different areas, and I think that this is one of them, and I think we need to celebrate and congratulate ourselves, both as council for giving the directions, supporting the recommendations of staff, and for staff who have put those recommendations before us and brought them through to a reality at this location and others. I spoke a little bit earlier today about taking responsibility, and I think that we are modeling that for the citizens in the Region of Peel, and for that I think we all deserve some congratulations. So thank you. I'll be looking for a mover on the report. Councillor Sato, did you want to speak on this? Yes. Oh, great. Thank you. I know you don't like the cookies that were served today. Just so.
It's okay. I bought a Fitbit a few weeks ago, and I'm logging what I eat now, and it's quite scary when it pops up how many calories what you ate was. It's quite revealing. But I just want to take an opportunity too to thank staff, and having served on the what we call it, the Healthy
by
Communities by Design. We changed the title a few times for the last couple of years. I'm working with the staff. I want to say how far we have come within the region and within our local municipalities. Instead of, we look at nutrition, but instead of focusing only on nutrition, we have really focused on the healthy lifestyle, the activity, and getting people moving. And just a few of the things that I wanted to highlight was the fact that we have in our own regional buildings, we have been promoting the use the stairs, walking meetings, getting people up from their desks. And I'm finding that as I'm looking at how many steps I've walked, that in our jobs, we don't walk that many steps on a natural day. So it's that incentive to get up and move around is very important. But also in both Brampton and Mississauga, we have done some really innovative things with our stairwells and really promoting. Mississauga, we're changing every door in our stairwells, putting in glass. We've painted the stairwells, and we're going to be putting some graphic design in the stairwells. We'll be having competitions for staff, challenges, and it's all being revealed. They're being revealed at our employee health display that's coming up in April in the Great Hall. So we're going to be doing things, and I know Brampton is doing the same thing. So we're really moving ahead, literally moving ahead in the Region of Peel. One thing that I wanted to comment on, Mr. Chairman, and this is to you, in the last term of office last year, we had a motion that, which I'm going to ask that we move again today, that for every meeting we would have a couple of stretch breaks, and that was at the request of the committee and Dr. Mowat at the time. And it's just a matter of when you're sitting for all these periods of time, it's really, really tough on the bodies. So I would move that we reinstate that in the new term of office, and that we ask that every hour or two that we have a stretch break and enable members of council and the audience who are
I've
sitting
ordered skipping ropes.
there.
So.
No, well, you want the skipping ropes? Well, I don't know. I wasn't going to go that far, but Madam Chair, I would ask that as part of receipt of this report, that we move that we reinstate the stretch breaks at all of our meetings.
I'll hold that motion till after the speakers. I do want to say I was at a conference a couple weeks ago. I think we should delegate the regional chair to take on the role of leading us in a little bit of an exercise at the conference
There you go.
halfway through the morning and halfway through the afternoon, because it was an active transportation conference. We all had to stand up. There was one guy, I think he's trying out for Dancing with the Stars, but he was pretty good. But maybe, I mean, we all get up and we try to pretend like we're moving.
Yeah.
Maybe we just need to do a circle around the room and
Just something.
sit down.
Just something like that,
I'm getting the evil eye from Councillor Parrish here. Councillor
We'll drag her.
Fonseca.
Kiss your neighbor.
Hello. There. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll just be really brief. I just wanted to say thank you as well. I had the opportunity to sit on the committee last term as well. Thank you to council and to staff. And Councillor Sato's already talked about how Peel has taken a leadership role in implementing healthy living and healthy design in facilities in Peel, and that's happened also at the local municipality. I had the opportunity to speak about healthy design and healthy living and youth the other evening on a show, and Dr. DeVillo was there as well, and wanted to thank you for being there and supporting the show and being so positive. And one of the things that came up was collaboration. So one of the first steps is that we need to be leading and doing this within our own buildings, but at the same time showing that there's supports and resources out there for others in the community, and that's what will make our communities as healthy as possible. So we're leading by example, but at the same time we're showing others that there's many things that they can do as well, and that they have those supports within their own networks and their own communities. So the collaboration is really important, and it was great to hear so many exciting things that are happening out in the community, and people are excited about that healthy, active living throughout the day, and also healthy eating ideas throughout the day that they know that they can take on themselves in the schools and within our neighborhoods. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Mayor Thompson.
Actually, I was talking to an immigrant family. They've been here quite a few years. They've just got their citizenship, but they're out of the Middle East. And they said the first time they walked into Zehrs and looked around, the kids turned around and said, "Dad, you better do nothing wrong because we're not going back." Just to look at the produce, like the kids were just overwhelmed, just couldn't believe how bountiful the food was. And I think we have a lot to be thankful for. And I was fortunate to tour the new Sobeys, which is now the Longos warehouse out at Vaughan there, east of 50. And I think it'd be a good tour to go through because they were showing as the food comes in, everything is monitored for chemicals, pesticides, and everything. Sometimes the grapes have to go out and be washed for the second time because it isn't from what's happened in the field, it's to preserve them for the flight coming here because of the high altitude in the air. But having said that, they said they can't afford the liability of having anything on that food. So, people say, oh, it's, organic doesn't have chemicals. They said nothing has chemicals because we can't afford to lose our, if people got a food scare of something that's gone wrong in their grocery stores, they're done. The competitive industry and the food industry is so competitive. Having said that, then explain to me, we saw what Maple Leaf went through with Listeria. Yet you'll go into a gas station and there's these vending machines that you can still get a hamburger out of that's probably been sitting there for 2 weeks, or a sandwich or anything else, and how people aren't getting sick. And I'm just saying, do we, when we do inspections for restaurants, do we not do these vending machines? Because I'm going to tell you, I do not know how we're not sicker having those kind of food machines sitting around. Tell me what's healthy about it.
Have fun with that one.
Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So indeed, there are a number of different food items that are available, and there are things that are clearly healthier and would be more desirable options for consumption than others. That being said, in respect of the actual safety of some of those packaged pre-prepared foods, because of the ways in which they're prepared, things like salt content and the style of packaging, from a bacteriological point of view, assuming nothing has entered that package in the processing and the packaging routine that it goes through, they should be, from that perspective, technically safe. And again, as long as nothing else has been introduced in the process or there hasn't been some kind of mistake or issue in the packaging process. That being said, the salt content, the preservative content of those foods is a completely different issue. But suffice it to say that in respect of our strategy, what we're trying to do is promote, good, healthy eating and good, healthy living, which means trying to make those good choices easier choices. I'm not sure that most people would choose to eat from the vending machine at the gas station if they had another option. I think that it's beholden upon us as your local health department to try and make sure that people have good choices available to them where we can. And we're trying to do that by working with workplaces and schools, the places where people spend the vast majority of their days, both in terms of the eating environment and the physical activity environment.
I guess you can look at it this way. If the food's got that much salt on it, you don't have to worry about it freezing.
Among other things.
I thought maybe you were trying to one-up Commissioner LeBrecq, the conversation we took place earlier. Would someone like to move the report? I see no others. Moved by Councillor McFadden, seconded by Councillor Thompson, or Mayor Thompson. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. There's one item of communication. It is here for receipt. Someone like to move? Moved by Councillor Downey, seconded by Councillor Fonseca. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Items related to human services, seeing that there's just one under communications, 11.1. Somebody would like to move that. Moved by Councillor Tovey, seconded by Councillor Innes. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Carried. Items related to enterprise programs and services, Councillor Fonseca.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Item 12.4 is for, 12.4. I just missed a whole bunch of them. Trying to move ahead. Had to flip my page. Item 12.1 is the community engagement strategy, and that's to endorse the strategy. And the strategy will, community engagement will run from April until June of 2015, with a report being brought back September of this year, 2015. And seeing no questions, I just wanted to thank Lorraine Graham-Watson and the report here. So through the plan, there's opportunity for 2 meetings brought here to Regional Council, as well as community, a number of community consultation opportunities, and also opportunities for councillors, Councillor Tovey's there on the board. Just quickly finish, opportunities for community engagement through events through the councillors' offices. So, Councillor Tovey.
Yes, thank you very much. I think that's terrific. We're going to be doing a lot more community consultation on this. That's wonderful. I just wanted to make sure that my ward was on the list for one of those consultations. Thank you.
So, Councillor Tovey, would you like to move that? Okay, moved by Councillor Tovey, seconded by Councillor Moore. All in favor? Any opposed? Carried. Thank you. Item 12.2 is proclamations, and this is to discontinue proclamations at the region of Peel. Moved by Councillor Paleshi, seconded by Councillor Sprovieri. All in favor? Any opposed? Carried. 12.3 is the transfer of Region of Peel federal gas tax allocation for 2015 through to 2018. And the amounts are on page 3 of this report. Seeing no questions, moved by Mayor Thompson, seconded by Councillor McFadden. All in favor? Any opposed? Carried. 12.4 is it's an information, a statutory report, an information to council. It's required. It's the 2014 Statement of Remuneration Expenses. Seeing no questions, moved by Councillor Mahoney, seconded by Councillor Tovey. All in favor? Any opposed? Carried. And item 12.5 is the Ontario Climate Change Discussion Paper, and it's to endorse the paper. Seeing no questions, moved by Councillor Tovey, seconded by Councillor Innes. All in favor? Any opposed? Carried. And then we're on to items of communication. Item 13.1, direction is required. This is a motion by the town of Aurora approving or supporting Bill 52, which is Protection of Public Participation Act. And in that motion, there's a direction endorsement of other municipalities to put forward a resolution by the town of Aurora. Who are you pointing at? Councillor Tovey? Councillor Tovey, did you have a question? Moved by Councillor Moore? I don't know, why did you say moved by Councillor Moore? Councillor Moore, did you have a question?
It's nobody that came.
Did you have a question?
No, I'm sorry. I'm on the board because I forgot to deal with Councillor Sato's motion. I just didn't want to let that go by. Sorry.
Okay. Okay.
We can deal with it other business. Councillor Moore will bring it up under other business. Yeah.
So under item 13.1 with direction, so should I move receipt of this, or do we need to? Yeah, we can. Yes. There's no comments. So, yeah. Councillor Moore?
Current members of council.
Are you on this item, or did you have another
I don't think
question?
so. I wanted to go back to report 12.4 for some clarification.
Okay. Did you have questions on 12.4?
I do.
Okay.
Sorry about
Stephen,
that.
okay,
We're just
Stephen?
kind of in a half of a conversation over on this side. I'm wondering why this statement of remuneration and expenses is only for the current members of council and not all members of council who sat during the 2014. It's on there?
It is on.
Why isn't it on? I just scrolled through mine. It's not there.
There's a separate appendix.
It is for everybody in 2014.
It's on 12.4.4.
Yeah.
12.4.4.
Yeah. 12.4.3 is the current member of council, if I
Yes.
may.
Yep.
Oh, I'm
Madam Chair.
sorry. You have my apologies.
12.4.4 is the
Sorry, I
previous members.
thought they would have all been listed. Thank you.
It also lists those that are outside representatives on the conservation authorities,
Yes.
correct?
Thank you.
And all remuneration from conservation authorities.
Thank you. I apologize.
No problem. Any further questions on that? Okay, thank you. Okay, back to communication item 13.1. So there is a motion. Then if you can put that motion up. So this is with regards to Bill 52, which is the Protection of Public Participation Act, that the town of Aurora passed this resolution. So if you want to read through that. And they've passed this resolution, and as part of the resolution, requested that it be circulated to all municipalities in Ontario to pass a similar resolution. I don't see any questions. Moved by Mayor Thompson. Seconded by Councillor Shaughnessy. All in favor? Any opposed? Carried. Okay, thank you. And the final two items of communication are recommended move for receipt, if there's no questions. Moved by Councillor Gibson, seconded by Councillor McFadden. All in favor? Any opposed? Carried. And back to you, Mr. Chair.
Well done. So, did you put a motion for that?
No, we'll just take
Okay.
it.
Yeah, take it as read. I call it the fitness motion. So it's the motion by Counselor Sado. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? Carried. Thank you. There's no notices of motion. Bylaws. Moved by Councilor Mahoney, seconded by Councilor Downey, that the bylaws listed on the Regional Council agenda, being bylaws 19-2015 and 20-2015, be given the required number of readings, taken as read, signed by the regional chair and the regional clerk, and the corporate seal be affixed thereto. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Carried. Motion by Councilor Sprovieri, seconded by Councilor Gibson, that bylaw 21-2015 to confirm the proceedings of Regional Council at its meeting held on March 26, 2015, and to authorize the execution of documents in accordance with the Region Appeal bylaws related thereto, be given the required number of readings, taken as read, signed by the regional chair and the regional clerk, and the corporate seal be affixed thereto. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Carried. Moved by Councillor Parrish, seconded by Councillor Fonseca, that the March 26, 2015 Regional Council meeting be adjourned. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Carried.